Hi, everyone. Thanks for taking this Yom Kippur quest. If you are viewing this video, then it means that we are in between the days of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur in the Aseret Yemei Tshuva, days where we ask for forgiveness and we tell people that we are sorry for things that we have done wrong. I want to focus for a moment on a prayer called the Al Chait. So what is the Al Chait? So the Al Chait is a prayer that is probably as important on Yom Kippur as the prayer the Ashamnu. And if you looked on our Yom Kippur quest, there's an activity dealing with the Ashamnu where we go Ashamnu, and we beat our breast as if to say, "Wake up, heart." Start moving again, be the person that we really need to be. The Al Chait prayer is very similar, right? So we also go, Al Chait shekatanu lefanecha, by being stubborn. The Al Chait shekatanu lefanecha, by telling lies. The Al Chait shekatanu lefanecha, by gossiping. The Al Chait shekatanu lefanecha, by not listening to parents. And here comes the chorus that kind of afterwards we do all these other ones, right? And goes, Bi'al kulam elo atzlichot, slach lanu mechal lanu kaper lanu, Bi'al kulam elo atzlichot, slach lanu mechal lanu, slach lanu mechal lanu kaper lanu. And when we read some of these Al Chait, some of these things, right, it says, for the sins we have sinned before you through hardness of heart. Yep, I'm like, that's me. Yep. For the sins that we have sinned before you through harsh speech. Yep, all the time. For the sins that we have sinned before you through wronging our neighbors. Yep. Being rude to parents and teachers. Yep. Foolish speech. This got me right on. But then I read some of them and I'm like, huh? For the sins that we have committed before you by bribe taking and bribe giving. What? I've never given a bribe in my life. For sins we've committed before you because of our business dealings. But I'm just a kid. I'm in school. I don't have a business at all. For bribery and extortion. What? When did I ever extort or give bribes? What? For sins we've committed against you by embezzlement, by stealing business money. What? This isn't talking about me at all. So one question that we really have is, why am I saying I'm sorry? Why am I spending so much time on Yom Kippur saying I'm sorry for things that actually I did not do? Maybe I should just skip these, right? Maybe we should let these go to someone else who actually has these problems. I've got problems that kids have, that kids in school have. Why should I be spending my time saying these prayers at all? Or should I? So that's what this web quest is going to explore. And it's going to explore it by using something that you may be familiar with, because you may have seen this in your Jewish studies class last year when we were talking about the protests of Black Lives Matter and whether it was right to participate, whether we should participate, whether we have an obligation to participate. So this is called Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, the cow of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. And here he is right now. I'm going to move my face down to here. Okay, here we go. Here is Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Hi, my name is Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. I lived in the same time as the famous Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Joshua, and Rabbi Meir, and Rabbi Gamliel. For a brief amount of time, I was even the head of the Jewish people. You may remember me from your Passover Seder. When the bigwig rabbis are mentioned, I am always among them. The story of Jewish responsibility, Elazar ben Azariah says, begins in a kind of a hidden way. It all starts with the law about animals not being able to work on Shabbat. And here's how it goes. A little bit of background information for this law. So background information is this. A main no-no on Shabbat is carrying something in a public area. Since the Torah says that your animal also needs a Shabbat, there are Jewish laws that tell us when an animal is wearing something and when an animal is actually carrying something, because they're not supposed to carry something. If they're carrying it, no. If they're wearing it, that might be allowed. But there's also a fear that if an animal is wearing something, it might drop off and the owner will be tempted to pick it up. And in that way, the owner will violate the no-no of carrying. The Mishnah that we will now read says that wearing items, even when they're there for only decorative reasons, are actually not allowed. So here we go. Here's the Mishnah. And a little explanation in the middle. So here we go. So the Mishnah asks, With what may an animal go out on Shabbat, and with what may it not go out? And the Mishnah answers, a donkey may not go out with a saddle cloth because it might fall off, and then the owner would be tempted to pick it up. And if she did, the owner would violate the Shabbat no of carrying. Also, the donkey may not go out with a bell around its neck because it would appear as if that donkey was heading to the market and working. Chickens may not go out with ribbons because they might fall off, and then the owner would be tempted to pick them up. And if they did, they would be violating a Shabbat no. Or a cow cannot also not go out with a strap between its horns for the same reason. But then the Mishnah says this: Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah's cow used to go out with a strap between its horns. The rabbis did not approve of this. And this is very important. This phrase right here, Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah's cow. So let's move on. So it just so happens that after the Mishnah was written, about 200 years passed, and most of the Jewish people moved away from Israel and were now living in Babylonia, modern-day Iraq. They studied the Mishnah 24/7 and often asked questions about what the Mishnah meant. Here comes one of those questions now. So here he is. I am a Jewish scholar living in Babylonia. I studied the Mishnah with a group of other scholars. Eventually, my discussions with them will be written down in a book called the Talmud. So the other day, I found a big question that I brought to my scholars. My question had to do with the Mishnah that you all just read about Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah's cow, and my question has to do with something else I once read about Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. So here's what I once remember reading. It has to do with the rule that Jews need to give 10% of the money they make to charity. Now check this out. It says, yep, here I am, Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah. I know that you thought that I was just a famous rabbi, but I also happen to be a very successful cattle farmer. And each year I used to give 12,000 cows away as tzedakah. That was my 10%. And this scholar thinks to himself, now, if Elazar ben Azariah gave away 12,000 cows away as tzedakah, and if that's 10% of the cows he had, then Elazar ben Azariah had 120,000 cows. Now, if that's true, then how come the Mishnah talks about his one cow when he had so many? And check out what Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah said. My one cow? Are you crazy? I had hundreds of thousands of cows. That's crazy just to talk about one of my many, many cows. So the rabbis brought this question to the other rabbis, and one of them recalled the following teaching. If Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah has so many cows, then how could the Mishnah just talk about one of them? Here's the answer. The Mishnah is actually talking about not Elazar ben Azariah, but Elazar ben Azar's neighbor who did have only one cow. Let's hear from him now. Yep, there he is. It's true. I was Elazar's neighbor. And as you can see, I've got nothing. Look, he's checking his pockets, nothing there. Truth be told, I was always a little bit jealous of Elazar ben Azariah's success. He had so many cows, and all I had was this one cow. Her name was Bessie the cow. So, but if it was the neighbor's cow, here's this question: why was it called Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah's cow in the Mishnah? Right? Let's just go quickly look back at that Mishnah for a second. It says right here, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah's cow used to go out. Right? So it's a good question. If it's the neighbor's cow we're talking about, why is it called Elazar ben Azariah's cow? And here's the answer. Elazar saw his neighbor bringing out his cow with the strap on Shabbat. He knew, because he'd read this Mishnah, that it was wrong, but he did nothing to stop his neighbor. For this reason, the rabbis said the cow was his. Because he said nothing, he got credit for the misdeed. And I was just listening to the two of you. Here's another rabbi talking. I was just listening to the two of you, and I've learned something very important from what you just said, and here it is. Anyone who has the ability to effectively protest the bad conduct of the members of his household and does not protest, he himself is guilty for that bad conduct of the members of his household and should be punished. If anyone is in a position to protest the bad conduct of the people of his town and she fails to do so, she is guilty for the bad conduct of the people of his town. If she is in a position to protest the bad conduct of the entire world, and she fails to do nothing, and she fails to do so, she is guilty for the bad conduct of the entire world. By the way, if you want to click more on this explanation from Rabbi Aviva Richman, it's beautiful. talking about the next question that I have for you, go to minute 39:57, just to minute 41:51. Very short, but very beautiful to get help in answering the next question. Because after these people have talked and after we have this ruling, anyone who has the ability to protest and does not, that person is guilty. So then here's the final question, which you're going to send to your teachers. One, why is it that the Al Chait prayer and so many Jewish prayers are in the plural and not the singular? Why is it we? And two, even if I didn't do these wrongdoings, like extortion, like business false impropriety, should I still say I'm sorry for doing it? And again, if you want a little bit of help with this answer before you send your answers to your teacher, Rabbi Aviva Richman asks and answers the question once again, which I just asked, and answers it beautifully as well. Go to 39:57 to 41:52. It's a great 2 minutes of your time to listen to this Responsa Radio number 70. Okay, Shana Tova, everyone, and Gemar Chatima Tova, and Som Kal. Have an easy fast.